Welcome to this Yin Yoga practice to help us release whatever is not serving us. For this practice, you may need a couple of blocks. You may want a bolster or a blanket. And we are actually going to start in tabletop. And I also have a little sheet here, and then it's just the affirmations. Because, postmenopausal women don't always have the best memory. So curl your toes under, lift your hips towards the sky, and walk your feet towards your hands, and just let yourself go. Our affirmation for dangling, which is this pose, is I release the need to control. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, right now we are in the midst of fall. It's been a very, very beautiful fall where I live. But you can see all the trees are releasing their leaves. It happens year after year. And don't forget to bend your knees a lot. Point your head towards your mat, really releasing. And that's why this is a releasing practice to go along with the fall season. Mother Nature knows how to guide us, and it is a prime time to just release the things that aren't serving us. I release the need to control. Maybe as you relax in this pose, maybe you find that your shoulders are releasing, relaxing, slowly moving towards the earth. Maybe your face is beginning to relax and release. Maybe your legs are releasing, or they could be very tight like mine are. Just a couple of breaths. Last breath. Take your hands to your mat. Walk them just a little bit forward. Bend your knees as you come back down into a tabletop position. If you do have a block, now is a great time to grab one. You may want to try this in our next pose, which is melting heart. Come back to a tabletop position. Shoulders are over wrists. Hips are over knees. And begin to walk your hands out in front of you while keeping your hips over your knees and bringing that block down to your head so you can rest your head on the block. Really stretching your arms forward. Opening up your heart. Our affirmation for melting heart is I am open to love. When we release things, we are also opening ourselves up to allow more to come into our lives. It's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. Remember to breathe in and out through your nose, nice and smooth. If you'd like to take this pose a little deeper, you can go ahead and lift your head off the block. Put that block to one side and bring your head right on down to your mat. I am open to love. Notice anywhere that you're gripping. Maybe that's the backs of your legs, maybe it's your glutes. You're going to feel sensation in your arms most likely because we don't stretch them out like this that often, and that's a good thing. But in your shoulders, in your glutes and your legs, see if you can relax them a little bit more, if you can release just a little more. Imagine any tightness is a rosebud, and see if you can open up that rosebud by breathing into it. Last couple of breaths. I am open to love. Last breath. And if you have your head on your mat or on a block, begin to lift your head and slowly walk your hands back towards your body. You can face the short end of your mat and bring your legs, bring your right leg parallel to the front of the short end of your mat, and your back leg, your left leg comes straight out to the side, and your shin comes parallel to the long end of your mat. I'm going to move to the wide end of my mat so you can see what I'm doing. Getting back into this pose, deer pose. And for the beginning, just go ahead and feel your spine lengthening up. And a few breaths here. And then really slowly begin to twist over your right leg. Our affirmation for deer pose is I am flexible. Take a few breaths here. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can begin to come down onto your forearms. It releases toward the floor. Shoulders release. Glutes release. Really let that head feel heavy. And if you feel that you want to go even deeper into this pose, you can stretch your arms straight out and bring the palms of your hands together in prayer position. And maybe your head comes down to your mat, maybe it doesn't. Find your edge where you feel sensation, but you don't feel pain. I am flexible. Flexibility is important in our bodies, and it's important in life too. Anything that becomes too rigid breaks. And if you ever watch the trees while they're releasing their leaves, you will notice that they sway back and forth in the wind, and they're not all swaying the same amount. Just like not everybody's coming down this far, we all have our own edge. Last couple of breaths. Wherever you are, take your hands to the mat. Slowly begin to raise your head. Walk your hands back toward your body. And if you feel like you need a little release, let your knees drop over to one side and then drop them over to the other side. Deer pose is a great hip opener. It helps us rotate those hips both externally and internally. And now let's take second side. Left leg is in front, right leg is to the side and behind. Inhale, begin to grow that spine very tall. You can stay right here if that's what you prefer. Otherwise, you can twist towards that leg, towards the front leg, keeping your spine nice and straight to begin with. And if you find that the twist is, if you want to bring it deeper and you want to come down to your forearms, but it's a little too difficult for you, you can always grab those blocks and put them under your forearms. If you'd like to take it deeper now, you come on down to your forearms. And you may notice one side is much more difficult than the other, which is normal for the vast majority of us. Very few people are completely balanced in their bodies or their lives. I am flexible. It's your choice. You can stay wherever you are right now. If you'd like to take it a little deeper, you can stretch your arms out in front of you, bringing the palms of your hands together in prayer position. Softening your face, releasing any tension in your body. Really softening down towards your mat. I am flexible. There's a couple of breaths. Notice if your breath is speeded up, that's a sign that maybe you've gone a little too deep. Last breath. Take your hands to the mat. Begin to press your upper body up. Head slowly comes up. Always moving slowly in and out of poses. Otherwise, there's a really good chance you could injure yourself. There's no rush. This is your time. Make it count. Come back into tabletop position. And then begin to walk your arms down, spreading your legs out toward the short end of your mat. And coming down all the way. Take your right hand and press that palm into the mat. Stretch out your left arm. Bend your knee on your right leg. And then begin to push up and over, really opening up your chest. I let go. If this feels a little too difficult for you, you can always take one of those blocks and put it under your foot over here. Really try to soften up your body on this one. We can carry so much tension across our shoulders, in our back. And this is a great counterbalance to all the hunching we do at computers. Last couple of breaths. Last one. And slowly begin to take that bent leg and bring it back towards your mat. we're going to go to second side, but because I have tight quarters here, I have to turn to this side of the mat. Press your left hand, or whichever hand you didn't press into the mat the last time, into the mat. Stretch out your right arm. Bend your right leg. And then begin to come up and over. Sorry about that. I always get a little confused on this pose. It's a really nice stretch, but it takes a little thought getting into it. And hopefully I haven't confused you. I let go. Whichever arm you have stretched out, you want to bend the knee of the opposite leg. And then you're going to bring that leg up and over. And then you're good. I let go. Last couple of breaths. Last one. Really slowly take that bent leg back towards the mat, rolling your hips over. And then just press yourself up and press your hips back to your heels for a minute. Giving your back a little bit of relief. Bringing your head down to the mat, child's pose. Walk your hands back towards your knees. Take your legs out to one side. And actually, no. We're going to come into a laying down position. Come down onto your forearms. Legs are straight out behind you. If this feels a little bit much on your back, you can go ahead and bring your arms further out in front of you, and that should take a little bit of the crunch out of your back. This is a very good move for our lower back. You can also take your arms and place them onto blocks. That's another way to make this pose a little easier. Try to keep your head in line with your neck so we're not yanked up there, or we're not tucked in here. Just one nice long spine. And I know whenever I come into seal pose, or rather sphinx pose, I have a tendency to just really clutch those glutes. So let that go if you're doing that too, because that's not what we want. I release self-doubt. We're trying to relax our muscles so that we're not working the muscles, we're getting into our joints and our fascia. The things that actually tighten up our entire body when they're not flexible. And Yin Yoga is great to help maintain the flexibility of your joints, of your fascia. And if you'd like to take this pose a little deeper, slowly begin to just straighten out your arms in front of you. Remember, the further away from your body they are, it's a little easier on your back. We definitely want to protect our low back at all times. I release self-doubt. Notice where your shoulders are. Mine are really kind of creeping up. Let that go. if that's the same for you. Last couple of breaths. Really let the whole body relax. Last breath. Come on down to your forearms. Roll over to one side and slowly come up. And again, you can face the short end of your mat. I'm going to face the long end so you can see what I'm doing. Bend your knees. Bring the soles of your feet together. If this is really difficult for you, if your hips are really, really tight, I suggest that you can sit on a block or on the edge of a bolster, and that will help raise your hips above your knees and make the pose a little bit easier. Take a few breaths here. With a nice straight spine to begin with. I like to take my arms underneath my shins. That's just an option. And then begin to let your head go. Let it be very, very heavy. And you can play around with the placement of your feet. They can be closer to you. They can be further away. Notice how that feels in your body, in your legs, and which one you prefer. There's no right or wrong answer. Let your head be really, really heavy. This is another really great hip opener. I let go of fear. It's also a nice low back stretch. And it can be really nice to really look within, taking your chin to your chest, letting your head be very, very heavy, feeling your shoulders melt open and your face relax. And over time, this is a really nice pose to hold for a long time. You're going to feel yourself begin to get closer and closer to your legs. And wherever you are, that's the right amount for you. You may be a lot closer than me. You could be a lot further away from me. As long as you're not feeling pain, and as long as you're feeling something, a little bit of stretch is a good thing, then it's all good. And I let go of fear. And the last couple of breaths. Last breath. Really let go. Very slowly begin to raise your head. If you have your palms underneath your shins, begin to slide them back to your body. Take your knees over to the side. Come back into a tabletop position. Begin to move your hips back towards your heels. You can have your legs very wide apart and the big toes together. You can have your knees together. It's all good. Once again, it depends on what feels right in your body. You can grab a block and put it underneath your head. Bring your forehead to the mat if you're able to. Otherwise, bring it to a pillow or a block. Bend your elbows. Bring your thumb and your forefinger together so your hands are in a diamond shape. Or you can stretch your arms in front of you and bring the palms of your hands together in prayer position. And this is child's pose. I release anger. Notice if, as you begin to really let your body soften, relaxing your face and your shoulders, your hips, letting go of any tension in your body. Notice if it becomes easier to release that anger. I know times are hard right now. Times have been hard for a very long time. I find myself getting angry much easier than I normally do. And I'm sure that the people around you are also getting angry easier than they normally do. And that's why it's really important to take a little time for you. And let go of the things that are no longer serving you. Anger never serves anybody, really. It hurts us physically, it hurts us mentally, and it never solves the problem. The next time you find yourself getting angry, see if you can stop, if you can turn away and take a few deep breaths. It's not easy, but it can make a huge difference in your life. Now let go of anger. The last couple of breaths. Whatever position your hands are in, bring your palms to the mat. Slowly begin to press yourself back towards your heels while you're bringing your body up. Again, swing your legs out to the side. And our last pose is a nice relaxing pose, but it takes a little setup. You need those blocks or books if you don't have blocks. And you're going to need a bolster or a blanket if you don't have a bolster. And you've seen me struggle with setting this one up before. It's a little tricky. So you're going to take one block lengthwise, and the other block is going to be horizontal, and your blanket or your bolster is going to go on top of these. Move this over a little bit more. Try and kind of center that head block over the block that's going to go behind your back, and the blanket or the bolster is going to go over those two. You're going to turn and face your hips towards the bolster. And you're going to very slowly and carefully begin to lower yourself down may or may not have the blocks, you may need to adjust them. This is supported fish. It's a really nice chest opener, heart opener. Once you get into it, it should feel really, really good. I am open to all that life offers me. This is a pose I can stay in, well, maybe not all day long, but it feels really good to me. You don't want your butt right up against the blocks. You want a little space between your hips and where you start laying back on the block. So basically we're propping up our back, our chest, a little bit above the legs. And if you'd like to, you can take the soles of your feet together and get a little bit more hip opening. Really just having my legs stretched out in front of me feels really good. And this is our last pose before we come to an easy seat. So really slow that breathing down. I am open to all that life offers me. And this practice has really helped open your chest. It's helped open your hips. It's helped soothe your low back a little bit, hopefully. If it feels better to you, you can let your head hang off. So it's coming down towards the mat. It's a nice throat opener, but it's, for a lot of people, it's a little bit much. Obviously, I'm not doing that. Feel free to go ahead and pause the video at this point and stay in this pose a little bit longer. And if you're ready to get back to your day, take your hands, palms down, and you have a choice. You can slowly push yourself into a seated position, and that can be a little bit hard on your back. Or you can just begin to roll off of that, and that's a lot easier. Oops. And you can put your blocks over to one side, although if your hips are really tight, sometimes sitting on that bolster or the blocks is very comfortable. And just come to an easy seated position. Please close your eyes or look at the tip of your nose to put the distractions that may be around you out of your mind. Just like it's never a good idea to rush from pose to pose, it's really nice to take a moment after you finish your practice to just sit there. Notice how you feel. Notice what's different. Pema Chodron said, "Nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know." And those of you who are signed up for my newsletter, I use that in my last newsletter. I think it's very, very true. It's also often very, very hard to know what the hard times are teaching us. Often we don't know until we're through them. But everything in life does teach us something. The hard times, the good times, the sad times, they're all there to help us grow. Begin to take the palms of your hands together in front of your heart, keeping your eyes closed. And rub them back and forth as a way to just let the practice go and move into your day. Let that go, bringing the hands still together in prayer position. Bowing your head over your hands. Slowly blinking your eyes open. Taking in your mat, the floor, the room around you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope that you found that you've released a lot of things that you don't need anymore and brought in a few things perhaps that you do need. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste.